Welcome to SK Sturm Graz, where we have 54 players in the reserves. What? So I thought the Austrian Bundesliga was a good fit for a next step for this journeyman manager, right? You do the two clubs in Asia, and you're making your first steps into Europe. The Admiral Bundesliga is the 10th best league in Europe, which when I thought about it, I didn't think I would be able to legitimately land a job in the top five. And with the rules and the structure, you've got the championship group and the relegation group, but there's a lot of, if I can find it, continental competition spots for this league. And I've never managed in Austria, and that actually kind of surprised me. I guess I should have thought of that, of like, that's kind of why the conference league exists, and so as to give opportunities to more of those not top five leagues to get a chance to play in continental Europe. But I thought getting into continental Europe would also be interesting for me as a player and for you as a viewer. Now, we're still just 3 points clear of fourth and 5 points clear of fifth, so it's not like we've locked down a really good continental competition spot. On the other hand, we're just 5 points from the top of the league too. The club has struggled a little bit. You notice 8 wins, 6 draws, 3 losses, just the +8 goal difference. You could suggest that SK Rapid should be a little bit higher up with their +9 goal difference. And I'm wondering if it's the continental competitions. Like if I filter the competitions here and we just go to the Bundesliga, you go, okay, you got a bunch of draws and then a loss. Like you kind of hit the skids after September 18th. Well, what happened then? Let's grab all the competitions back here. September 18th. Well, you were already in the Conference League second round leg, but then you had a break, probably it's an international break. Same one we talked about last episode. And then you've got a cup second round, third round. So I'm not real sure. It's just like maybe they just got too heavily involved or haven't rotated enough, which again, if you have any idea why there are 54 players in the reserves of any team ever, did they think, you know what, we can do a lot here, lads. We're going to sell 200 tickets a night. We're gonna have 3 teams. We'll just rotate them. They'll play each other, and then the winner plays the loser, and it'd be like an unofficial tournament every week, so we could bring in ticket revenue. 54, it's unbelievable to me. But the club already set up friendlies against second place team in Slovenia, 9th place team in Poland, and then we start straight off with a cup quarterfinal against Vienna, who are in the division below us. And then before we get to the split in the league, we play SK Rapid in 5th, FAC Wien in 12th, WSG Tirol in 6th, Hartberg in 10th, and RB Salzburg in 1st. So pretty decent run of games in terms of hopefully challenge level. Like we're not playing first, second, and third in our first 3 games, I guess is the main point. But that'll allow us to get a tactical setup inserted into the team and start practicing it, right? So let's take a look at the senior team before we investigate the reserves. Just when you look at this first glance, you look at the right sidebar there with all of the stars, and you go, all right, there's a lot of 3.5 stars, maybe a little bit of 4-star potential in there, and then some backups. But as you delve deeper into this, it gets a tad bit more confusing, at least to me. They hired me because they want me to play attacking, entertaining football. I think there was a thing in the vision about youth, maybe. 2-year contracts. No, it was just don't sign really old players. And I'm trying to figure out how the club were playing before I got here. So you've got a goalkeeper, fine, 3-star, although the first choice goalkeeper has 6 starts and 2 subs. None of that recently. And he's not been injured. I mean, he's had bruised shins. He did tear a groin muscle. That was in 2025. So it was an eternity ago. Okay? Lucas Gutelbauer, maybe, has been the starter, but look at this, 5.9 in all of the continental competitions and a 6.72 on 14 or 15 starts in the league. I'm not sure why the first choice goalkeeper is making less money than the backup keeper and the first choice goalkeeper is not playing. He looks to be ever so slightly better, so we're going to play him. That makes sense to me. You've got a right back and you've got a 5'5" right back backup who in a bind can play center back, but are you really going to put a 5'5" guy in at center back? Interesting. So again, right back is decent looking. He's got a 3.5 star if you play him as a wing back. Whatever. Okay, but looks serviceable. I forgot George Bello existed, and we have rediscovered him here in Austria. And I'm really tempted because how often do you have one a good fullback already in your squad or wingback or whatever, but one that also knows complete wingback on 3.5 stars and is not 40? He's 27 years old, looks pretty decent. I do know that he has a 13.75 million release clause, and that is below his current value, so that might be something we need to take a look at. But he actually looks pretty decent. The problem comes when you look at the spine of the team, because if we just sort by position, what you'll notice is there's a striker, there's a backup striker / plays on the wing, there's a backup, or this is the starting striker. He's being trained as a 10 for some reason, I guess to give some versatility, but he's the leading goal scorer, so our striker is Mika. Player that plays on the wings, 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 player that plays on the left wing can also in a bind play in the center of midfield, but prefers to play on the wing, plays on the right wing, and then some these two midfielders, a left back, a right back that's 5'5", a center back / CM, a center back / DM, a center back / DM. And when you sort back to how we have them picked, center backs, I had to pull the one at the very bottom of the list. I had to pull up from the reserves because I was like, oh dear. So you've got a 2.5-star and a 3-star that are not necessarily your starting center backs, because Solomon Bona, the 5'5" guy, looks to have gotten a bunch of starts, which I guess is at center back, which seems like a bad idea to me. So you've got a 2.5-star and a 3-star with no potential, and the guy who's kind of like the captain at the back, I don't know if he's the actual captain, the leader at the back, right? 14 leadership, 12 teamwork, 33 years old, 6'3" monster whose physical attributes are starting to fail, is all right. The other guy is 23, has potential but needs to grow. I guess that's why he's not played as much. But the other option is a 34-year-old Gregory Wuthrich, who I guess is serviceable, has played 6 starts and 1 sub. His contract's up at the end of the season. But there's a significant lack of depth, I think, in midfield, at center back and in midfield. We'll get to that. But that's why I pulled up Luis Halstenberg here from the reserves, because I'm not saying he's outstanding, but from a no-nonsense standpoint, he can head, mark, and tackle. He's got good aggression and bravery. He's super determined, and his physical stats, I'm assuming he's still growing into. He is just 5'9", which is not ideal, but in terms of we need bodies, I thought he was worth pulling up. Let's move forward into midfield, where we have Nicholas Madsen, maybe Dutch or Danish. Really like him. Super determined. Love that. Can pass, so we'll play him on defensive midfielder in the support role. 6'4". Love this guy. Super happy that we've got him. We've got Mamadi Diambu, if that's how you say it. Looks like a serviceable midfielder. 3.5-star with 4-star potential. Pretty happy with that. 26 years old. Has a contract for another 18 months. Lovely stuff there. And then 29-year-old Tommy Horvat, who looks all right. He's got 3.5-star ability. Probably not likely to improve. Can play on the left wing in a bind, but lots of blue double-digit numbers. Looks pretty solid. And has given us a 6.99 in at least in league play. So not bad. But then you look at the options behind there, and you have Tim Baumgartner, which I love that name, who is a prospect, I think. He's 23 years old. There's nothing wrong with him, but he's just not to the level. That's why it says he's a good, is it Zweite Liga or is it 2 Liga? I'm not sure. The second division is not quite, he'd be all right. I guess you sub him in the 75th minute. You're giving him some minutes, letting him develop, but I feel like we're going to need some more depth here. And then you have Augustin Ojeda, who is really a left winger, right? He's that cuts in from the side, or a right winger who just pings in, but he can't cross. So he's definitely for me, his best position is on the left wing, cutting in, because he's a very strong right-footed player. He's got 15 dribbling, 14 first touch. He's got that Argentinian bada bing, bada boom going on. He's not done exceptionally well, a 6.62, but he's only had 13 substitute appearances and 1 start, so you don't know how many games he's actually getting a rating on. But that's it. That is, okay. I guess I should show you. Ibrahim Olowoyan, who is our left winger. Again, he can play in the middle of the park, but he's 3-star versus out here he is 3.5-star. I think he's better suited out on the left wing, but we could use him in the middle if we need to. But overall, it's like, that's it. If you need to sub in a DM, you're moving up one of your center backs and bringing in somebody poorer at center back, or you're bringing in 23-year-old Tim Baumgartner, which just doesn't seem like enough. I've actually also pulled up, I want to say at least it was also Recep Ilhanli, if that's how you say it, who is a decent looking 18-year-old right back. He's got lots of physicals. He needs to work on the technicals, but maybe in one of those lower level games, or he comes on against Vienna in the quarterfinal because we're clearly going to smash them, to give him some development time, but he was in the reserve. So the first thing I did is I went to the reserves and went, what is going on here? Oh dear. And then I closed that because it was overwhelming. But I'm seeing the spine needs work because we've got, honestly, I think too many players that play on the wings. So that's interesting. Now they want entertaining attacking football. So for what we have right now, I've done a vertical tiki-taka. And the reason for that is we've got good natural fitness. We've got good pace and acceleration in several positions. Almost looks like a counter-attacking team, but we're not going to play that way because that's not how the board wants to play. And I don't know how to manage and set up tactics that way, to be completely honest with you. Our passing is okay. So maybe doing more of a tiki-taka would be better, like slower build-up. I was really trying to get to a place where you can do like a 4-4-2 diamond and just let George Bello, a complete wingback on the left side, run rampant. But I think with the squad that we've got so heavily on the wings, we kind of have to use those players. And I have to also remind myself, this is a 6-month thing until the summer transfer window. So when we go to spend transfer money, what little that we have, we need to, it's like, that's why I'm going like, I need water carriers. I need midfielders, center backs. They don't have to be world beaters. Ideally, they're like, I want to have squad player minutes. We're not looking for world beaters for the last 6 months of this season. That'd be great if they were world beaters. We've got some budget limitations there. Maybe a striker, because our backup striker is, I think it's Intrip, who's 31. He's all right. He's, 14 finishing, not bad. He has scored 4 goals in league play, but he doesn't just go, ooh, that's amazing. But I feel like where we need to reinforce is in the middle. So I've got a vertical tiki-taka set up. I've got a gegenpress set up because we do have it. Like, if one of our starting midfielders right now goes down, we don't really have somebody to bring in. So it's like, well, then we would play with 2 and they just wouldn't get subbed out until the very end of the game. And we would throw somebody else up top. You could also do something like a 4-2-3-1 tiki-taka, which is what Gaming Ball is known for in the save. And again, just very quickly, we will look at the reserves. So our concentration's all right. Our decisions are pretty good. Fairly determined squad. Love that. The worst is a 12. You got to love that. Teamwork is all right. Vision is all right. And then we go to the technical skills here. Our technique is pretty good. Our passing is pretty good. Now, the bottom half here, which includes 2 of our center backs, not so hot. And we do have one of them set to play as a ball-playing defender, so we will probably be changing that. Marking is not so good. Heading is pretty poor, so we're going to keep the ball on the floor. First touch is really good. So I thought about if we had a faster pace of passing it around, but I'm not convinced of that. The recommendation from the staff was to play wing play. We can't cross the ball. So I think maybe it's just we have lots of wingers, use them, but it's well, if they're not very good at crossing, I think that lends itself more to them cutting inside and being dribbly boys, which we do have a little bit better, at least in the starting 11. That's my take. So, without further ado, here's the reserves. So I went in and was like, wow, the senior team looks a little short on players. They must be in the reserves. And they're all in the reserves. Oh my gosh. They're all in the reserves. So a lot of these players expire in 6 months. And I don't normally go out and hire a director of football, but in this particular instance, we've already got one. And I'm quite happy because essentially all I did was sort by reverse potential and go to these top 3 players and say, please get rid of them. Let's start free. There's a lot of wages here. Now, we have a much larger budget, but every 2 youth prospects is about $1,000 to $1,100 a week in wages, you start adding up 10 of those guys, like you're covering Dejan Stojanovic's contract, who's on $5,000 a week and retiring, and I've already offered a mutual termination, and he said, no, I'm retiring, thanks, but no thanks. Now, from a staff standpoint, we essentially inherited a team with no coaches, or a couple of coaches, but it's like the other manager went to Gink, and a lot of his staff went with him. We luckily had a scouting department that we're not rebuilding from scratch, although some of them are just kind of okay, like a 10 and a 12 on judging player ability and potential with Bruno Freisenbülker. Let me know if I said that one right, old lady plays. Rico Baltzer has joined us from FC Seoul. He wanted to come back to Europe. He has extensive knowledge of Austria. I don't know what's going on with the skin. I've reloaded the skin. It doesn't show anybody. Like, it's like they're stuck. They never left their previous jobs. It still shows him as the chief scout at Mageburg, but he's been with me, and you lose all of that. So I don't know what's going on with that. But Rico has joined us, as has Otto Addo, who is all right, I think, for this level in terms of his double-digit attributes on the coaching side. But I love his resolute personality, determined, disciplined, motivating. He's like the culture guy that you bring in. Like, it's not that he doesn't have any skills. I don't want to insult him that way, but it's like you bring him in and he's like, this guy knows how I want the team to be. He can set the standards, and he can get the coaches that we end up hiring on the same page. And there are some other gaps. We don't have a head of sports science or a sports scientist at all. We don't have any performance analysts or recruitment analysts. So you can kind of tell we're lacking. We need to, I'm trying not to just go staff search and find staff members. I have gone out and put the job postings out there. That's how I prefer to play. None of the other folks from FC Seoul wanted to come with me. I did have one of the coaches and the head of youth development quit when I quit, but they're not good enough for this level, really. The head performer, or not the head performer, the head of youth development that we've got is actually quite good. So 16, 16, and 17, fairly determined. Pretty happy with that, so didn't want to replace him. From a scouting standpoint, I've gone ahead and bumped up our scouting budget. We were only looking in Central Europe for some reason. We've got the money to look in all of Europe. Eventually, I would like to bump that up to World, but we'll start small for right now. We are looking for, as a top priority, a center back that's a ball-playing defender, and anybody in midfield. Again, I don't mind if they are 2.5 star with some potential. Those water carriers, there's some good options you can see here already that I've already kind of put on short list to send the team out. But we only have, as of right now in the save, about 5 days to get some transfers over the line. I'm not trying to panic spend, because if you do that, then you end up hurting yourself going into the summer window. But we do need to perform, right? We want to keep those European spots. We're in third place right now. Let's keep pushing on. But that's kind of where we're starting out our scouting network. So that's where we're at, my friends. I thought for those of you that have made it this long in the episode, I just wanted to show you, I was getting notifications while unemployed that Gillingham was potentially looking for a new manager because Kieran Trippier was on the hot seat. Yep, he only made it 197 days. And Antonio Conte is at Real Sociedad and was also on the hot seat. It appears that he is still there. That may be a glitch. Nope, he's still there. But in 10th place on 26 points. I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, am I at Antonio Conte's level? I don't think so. But that'll do it for today, my friends. Again, this is episode 1 of a new club. So I've kind of changed the thumbnail a little bit. I've also recorded this entire thing twice now because I'm struggling with my microphone, which keeps dipping and getting closer to me, and therefore the sound was getting blown out. So I'm still working in my recording software and with my PC to get the sound where it's loud enough, but also not peaking to where it sounds like when it gets too loud, like a really bad speaker or something like that. So if you've enjoyed this episode and that effort, hit the like button, leave a comment about what you found interesting, or I'm sure there may be some things that I have left out that you're like, well, what about this? I want to see that. Please leave a comment. I'll be glad to respond to the comments or to put it in an upcoming episode. Thanks for being here. Welcome to Austria, and we'll see you next time.